Welcome. Thank you for coming to this presentation. My name is Thompson. I am a learning technologist and also IT accessibility liaison at the University of Washington Bothell. What I'm going to present about today is our answer for a lot of questions we had in the past about accessibility, about what are we going to do on our campus, new processes that came about because of changes in our policies statewide. And so we got kind of creative with this. Okay. So my presentation here, here's the link, also a QR code. If it will be available as well as all of the resources I'm going to show you today. All right, so we're going to be using Poll Everywhere for just a few questions to get your feedback. So to connect to Poll Everywhere, if you have the app, go to the app and go to UW Polls, or you can go to your browser and go to pollf.com/UWB Polls to participate. And these instructions will also be on each slide. So if you haven't connected yet, you will be able to finish that on the fly. Okay, so first poll question. I got too many things here. Okay. Okay, so in one word, how do you prefer to learn? Oh, it didn't switch. Sorry about that. There you go. Okay, excellent. So we have visual, we have doing, discussing. Quickly. Good for you. Excellent. The activities, discussions, mentored. Hi. Okay. You mean like hi, like, H-I, hi, I'm hi. No. By doing, a lot of doing, that's wonderful. Just from seeing the on mobile, okay, the trends right here is amazing with each audience when I ask this question, how it varies. Last time I asked this, the visual was the most common answer for it. Excellent. So I'm going to lock this right here and switch back. Okay. All right, so we go back. Okay, so no matter how we prefer to learn, we have different preferences, right? And we know what works for us. And we should be able to, whatever we access, have the capability to take it in, to learn from it in the way that we prefer. Okay? Now, the flip side of that is that when we get in a different way, it also stretches our own mind, and it stretches our own learning by trying a different way doesn't come as easy. But, so anyone here now is an abstract sequential learner by any chance? Whatever that means. Okay, so start a little bit. How many of you are familiar with the principles of universal design for learning, UDAL? Okay, excellent, cool. So for those of you not familiar with it, okay, it's just designing products, designing content that it is accessible to the majority of the population without having to make special accommodations for it or special changes. And as an example is, designing instruction for students that may have different ranges in ability or disability, which doesn't mean necessarily they may be deaf. Perhaps they have a learning preference. Or perhaps they're an international student, for example. So we need to think of all of our diverse students when we're designing content to make it more accessible. Okay? Another thing is designing for mobile. That's very important. Sometimes we don't think about people, which are students, you do a lot now, they look at their course in a mobile phone, but is that course designed to be able to be accessed and be seen correctly in a mobile phone? Some things to think about. Okay, another poll question. Okay, so what do you think what kind of things universally accessible content should have? So we have our text. Tag PDFs, those are PDFs that are a person, for example, using a screen reader can navigate a PDF without using a mouse. It's using the keyboard, and it recognizes all of the different levels of information in there. Open textbooks. Open textbooks are getting better about accessibility, by the way. Initially, that was not the first thought. The first thought was, let's make this available to everyone. But the accessibility aspect of it was not in the forefront, but now is. So there have been a lot of advances in that area. Cool. Okay, I'm about to lock it. So going once, going twice. Done. Okay, excellent. Bless you. So I'm going to have to it seems like I have to do this every time. Okay. So looking at the Universal Design for Learning principles, I mean, there was a high instance of the alt text. There were some of the things that you guys selected in the question. So part of Universal Design for Learning is not just accessibility and not just making it universally accessible in that sense, but also it supports engagement. It supports, with neuroscience research, the latest on that, the different ways how the brain works in learning. So all of the principles used in Universal Design for Learning are very solid because it's not just about accessibility, but it goes way beyond. And this is taken from CAS.org, that was the organization that coined the term Universal Design for Learning. So we have the why of learning, the what of learning, and the how into engagement, representation, action, and expression. All right. Okay, so next question. What do you think are the top accessibility issues in electronic student content? And by the way, if you guys have questions, please ask on. You don't need to wait until the end. If you have a question or you don't understand some, please, or something I didn't explain it very clearly, let me know, please. Okay, so we have some rankings. So in accessible publisher content, for example, what would be some of that? What would be some of those publishers? Right. But what companies? Anyone come to mind? Any company? How about Pearson, which are a giant, and their stuff, like my math lab, my accounting lab, etc., is not accessible to screen readers still. So if a student requires an accommodation that's using a screen reader, it has to be put through the process to make those materials accessible. Okay, so let's see. It keeps changing. Okay, come on, guys. Okay, has everyone voted yet? Okay. But to lock it, going once, going twice, locked, okay. Okay, so it looks like, what do we have here? So second, missing video captioning, okay? And that is, top one. So thank you for selecting that because there's so many ramifications to captioning, right? Okay, and then what do we have third? Inaccessible PDFs. Usually they tend to show up in the form of images. When you go to a PDF and then you're trying to highlight, the whole thing goes blue, right? Because it's an image, usually the scanned ones, if it wasn't done correctly. Let's see, what do we have fourth? Complex navigation. Students may get lost in the content and they don't know where to find things, right? And what was one? Let's see. So that was fourth, alt text, okay. But it's amazing that accessible publisher content was number one. Cool. All right. I'm going to set this down for a second. Okay, so instead of having to go each time. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Okay, there was a research project done by Triple Media and Oregon State University on captioning. How many have heard of this research? Cool, you got a few people here and you have heard of it too. And the very interesting thing about this research is that when closed captions or transcripts were available with video, that, if they were available, students would use it. And some of the top reasons were it helps me retain information, it helps me focus, and it helps overcome poor audio. So not necessarily because they had a disability, right? And think about, for example, someone who wants to watch a video in a quiet environment. If that's available, they can read it, they don't have to hear the sound, right? Or if you have, for example, I like to use this other one, international students. If they hear the words and they see the words, there's more comprehension, right? Do you have any examples of how it could be beneficial, captioning, for everyone? Okay, so go ahead.
If you have a transcript, it's searchable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you have a transcript, it's searchable so that a student can go back and review the information that was most important to them.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, and Raul over here.
Oh, same thing, okay.
Yeah, the video discoverability with captions and transcripts is the carrot to captioning a video. It's not about policies, and think about the hearing impaired students in your class. It's about how easy is it for your video to be indexed in a proper way so that all your students in your class can easily discover what they need to find in that video.
Cool, excellent. Thank you very much. Oh, here's another one.
Something that's kind of sort of the reverse of captioning for video would be, audio versions of text. So like in our LMS, we have a product called Read Speaker integrated into it where, a voice will read aloud long passages of text. And we found that a lot of students that don't have disabilities, they still like using that so that they can hear the text as they read through it.
Yes. Very good, thank you, that's excellent. And how many of you use Panopto in your institutions? Panopto. Yes, Panopto video capture for lecture capture or individual captures. None of you use Panopto? You do, okay. No one else uses Panopto? Panopto, P-A-N-O-P-T-O, yeah, thank you. Anyway, so the reason I mentioned it, okay, is one that we're using at University of Washington, and a cool thing that came up with the latest upgrade, the latest version, is that It now does the auto captioning, like YouTube, using similar algorithms. So instructors can easily, if they want to, can easily get that from the Panopto videos without having to download, upload to YouTube, which is, a lot of more traditional ways that we've talked about before. So it's pretty cool. And also the videos in Panopto are searchable. So talk about finding, they get indexed, finding terms and be able to look at things. And it's usually, if it's in slides or something like that, it will be indexed, which makes it easier. Yes?
Never mind, I don't have a no. So do you have the ability then to go in and, because I teach in like medical and dental, and whenever they do the auto conversion or the captioning, they get the words all wrong. Can you go in and correct? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You can edit, and the editor is not quite as simple as YouTube's has become, but it's getting there. It's not difficult to use. Great, thank you. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so real quick, active learning. How many of you are familiar with the principles of active learning or some principles of active learning? Oh, a few more. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so active learning, as the word says, is active, not passive, right? Okay, anything that involves people talking about what they're doing, talking about what they're thinking, right? Doing something about what they're thinking, or listening or learning, right? Okay, or anything that students can do in the classroom, of course related, okay, aside from just being spectators. And usually when those principles are used, and there are many ways to do this, that there's higher engagement. And I wonder why, right? Don't you feel like when you're more involved in doing things that is, you learn more and you're more interested in the material? Okay? And it goes back again to universal design for learning principles, what we saw before. Active learning is part of it. Okay? Okay. Another poll question here. Okay, what do you think might be some barriers to using active learning in a classroom environment? And you can select other if an option you prefer is not listed. That's really good. Okay, I'm going to leave that open for a second. Do you guys have any ideas on some techniques, some tools that you can use for active learning that you know about?
Some group discussions in the classroom.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Any other ways that you can make learning more active?
Clickers, feedback.
Okay. So some type of immediate feedback, like using poll everywhere, for example.
Poll everywhere.
Poll everywhere. Yes. Okay. I mean, there are many things that you can do. Okay. So let me lock it. Going once, going twice. Boom. Okay, you're done. Okay. Okay, so we have some of the things that encountered is that what I listed there, a lot of times faculty really want to do more, but they lack time, perhaps. It will take too much time to redesign. Maybe they don't know how to implement active learning, which provides an opportunity to meet and work with them and find out what they want to accomplish, what they want to do, right? And we can give them ideas. There's still a lot of, no, you cannot have a computer, you cannot have a phone, you cannot have a tablet in the classroom because you get distracted, you don't pay attention, right? There's a lot of that going on. So what are some other barriers for whoever selected other? Lack of coffee. Okay, that could be a barrier, yes, exactly.
time that the instructor has. There may be no time to discuss and take responses and do all that kind of things.
Okay.
I think related to time to design the content, people also need to understand active learning and how to do it effectively and have the appropriate training to do it well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Okay. I'm getting my exercise. My Fitbit's going. Okay. Okay, so our response and our idea for implementing a lot of this cool stuff on our campus was UDAL. Because we're in academia, we had to come up with an acronym. It's a given, right? Even if it's weird. Okay? So it's Universal Design for Active Learning. And that's our initiative. And so we use the principles for the UDL principles with added emphasis on student engagement and physical spaces because it's all part of it. More information can be found on the Learning Technologist website, which I have it open right here. So this is our website for UDAL. And so it has some initial information, a little bit of a primer, and some resources. This came about, part of it came about because there was a policy, new policy down in Washington that was passed last year, Policy 188, which required all state agencies in the state of Washington to have accessible content, basically. And they gave several deadlines and processes to meet those requirements. So that, I mean, although we were doing a little bit of that, it really got us going in this path to do a lot more. Okay? So UDAL promotes equitable access of electronic materials, use of best practices in course design and pedagogies, and student active learning and engagement. Any questions so far? No? Okay, so here's some examples, some of the ways we've done a lot of integration. So we've created materials such as this one, handouts, how to use video effectively in your hybrid blended course, and as well as like some best practices, examples, what instructors can do. Okay, we also hosted a Happy Active Learning Day because the White House said that, the 25th of October is National Active Learning Day. So we celebrated it. We sent out messages. And then so we had a little video called Canvas Cookies. So Canvas Cookies are super short videos about a Canvas feature. And here's one little example. And Todd, who is amazing, does these. Just gonna see. Taking a minute to load here. Okay, we'll see if it loads and I'll come back to that. So, so some of that, the other things in Active Learning Day, let me go here. So, for example, we had a Poll Everywhere tip where we sent out an active learning survey using Poll Everywhere so they can use it from a student's perspective and be more familiar with it. We also hosted some hours for them to come in and we had devices and we had ideas and we had posters, things like that, so they could drop in and get and have something fun. And of course, we had coffee and we had cookies. And also we had a workshop, an active learning lab is what we called it. So some of the other things, let's see if this one has loaded.
Hey there, Todd Conaway here, traveling on a ferry between Kingston and Edmonds, and if I were a student here and the weather were not so beautiful, I might be inside and I might be tempted to take my phone and maybe read an assignment in Canvas. So are you familiar with what the Canvas app looks like as an instructor and what you can do with the Canvas app? Much less, do you know what it looks like for a student? you don't, I'm going to show you right now.
You can download the Canvas app for Apple devices, iPads, and iPhones.
So he just switched, he connected that part to the Canvas app and some ways to use it. So another one, we write blog posts. And so this is one about how to use alt text with a sample course. Just to you keep reminding that faculties, like you can have a good looking course, you can have great images, you can have color, but you just have to use the images wisely. And make sure that you use alt text where it should be used. And so it shows instruction how to do it in Canvas, in an Office document, as well as in a Google Doc. Okay, so here's another example. Are you familiar with Quality Matters? Who's familiar with that? Oh, quite a few. Excellent. So this is part of a March for Best Practice, and several schools are doing this movement where people record how they're applying quality matter principles and do a quick video and submit it. And so this one, I'm just going to show a little bit of it, just shows a little bit how some of these were applied.
I use some of the quality matter standards when I work with faculty. I'm going to show 8.1, 8.3, 8.4, and 8.5 in accessibility and usability. So here is a demo course I've created that I demo it for faculty, and it shows that it's got some nice graphics to make it visually appealing.
So it goes through, I mean, it's super short, but it goes through, talking about the navigation and showing the alt text being used and how the navigation was set up, within that homepage to go to the different areas. And also it shows some of the different formats that were available if there was a PDF that was accessible, but also an HTML version of some of the documentation. So here's another one. Poll Everywhere that we were using just a little bit ago. So this tip right here is another way we're integrating Universal Design for Learning. And so it's cool that you can add images and have that as choices. But what if a person cannot see the image? We had the fig, strawberry, or the orange. So our tip was to include a description of what it is on each picture as part of the question. So instead of just saying which fruit do you like the least, say that in addition to that, say also fig, option A, strawberry, option B, etc. Oh, there was one more. Okay. Here's another one. We're also integrating UDAL with student support. This is a page about how to create ePortfolios in Canvas, and we use it for our first-year program. And in the part where we walk them through the process, this is how you edit your page and start the About Me page. Then we talk about heading styles. We show them how to do it, but then we talk about it and also talk about why it is important to use heading styles. Why is it important to use heading styles? Anyone? Okay, screen readers. Great. Why?
Navigation.
Very good, navigation. And so the navigation just means that the screen reader will recognize those heading levels, and the screen reader, they can jump with their keyboard from one and listen to that section and this section and this section, because it provides that structure in the document. Whether it is an Office document, whether it's an HTML page, it does the same. Any questions or comments on that?
I think the headers are also useful for visual learners for them to navigate through large chunks of text.
Right. So useful for visual learners. Excellent. That's absolutely right. Thank you. Okay. So let's move on. We've done also a lot of course reviews and redesigns, and here's a sample of some of them. Some in CSS, nursing, health sciences, the special ed ePortfolio course, for example. And we had some really good early results comparing to prior offerings of these courses. So, and this is very qualitative, and it's feedback that instructors got from their students, and then the instructor reported to us. So about 80% of students agree that the course was logical and easy to navigate. Also, questions about where to find things were reduced by 70%. And this is, a fuzzy number, but they were reduced quite a bit, about 70% in comparison to prior offerings, as well as it seems like student satisfaction was higher. Things were more clear. And this didn't even include any students with disabilities that were reported. So by just applying those principles help those students. Okay? So another part of our UDAL initiative is the flexible classroom spaces. And so we started a process, so we're slowly changing rooms and making it more flexible, where you can use multiple teaching styles, individual space for students and instructor. You can facilitate group work and collaboration, and something that's easy and quick to reconfigure, because usually there are like 15 minutes between classes in the schedule, so I need to make sure that it can be put back quickly, right? Large writing surfaces like whiteboards, for example, standard technology, plug and play, accessible, okay? So in that, we try to go, this is an example of one of our rooms that is being redone, and it will be ready in June, at the end of June. So went from this to this, and this is what it's gonna look like when it's finished. And the thing is, this is costly. So you can't just go and do that with, as you know, a lot of you probably know, right? Furniture is costly, and usually the approved vendors are super expensive, but it's stuff that lasts, right? So, but it's good furniture, and we had about $20,000 we were given, monies from IT, and then we applied for a grant, and we got it for $75,000. That covered the rest of the cost, and still we kept the technology upgrades to a minimum because there was no more money. You know, but it allowed more of that different configurations, and we selected this one because one of the requirements from our registrar is that the room had to still take the same capacity as before. So this is the configuration that worked best, and it can be changed a little bit. I mean, it can be changed around, but this is the default for it. So the large writing surfaces, the little white tablets that can be put on the tables, can be hung on the side, and tables and chairs are on wheels. And even the instructor station at the front, that can be moved easily too. Okay, we're gonna do a quick activity. Okay, so we're going to have everyone get up. You're like, oh no, what are we doing? Oh my gosh, okay. All right. Stretch, yeah, good to stretch, huh? Okay, so here are the rules. I'm going to give you a set of instructions for actions in successive order, and you don't have to worry if you finish them or not, right? And you just have to remember the sequence, okay? So, where are my notes? Just a sec. What's that? It's based on. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I got this from this episode. That was really cool because it was demonstrating what stress does to the brain and learning. I don't know where my note went. Okay, here it is. Okay, so let's do it. Let's start. So first thing, clap your hands. Count out loud to 10. Put your hands on your head. Cluck like a chicken. Okay, what was the second thing I asked you to do? Very good. Let's do it again. Okay, count backwards from 10. Act like a monkey. Okay, wave your hands above your head. Recite the alphabet. Snap your fingers. Howl like a wolf. Stamp your feet. Say the word NWMed 3 times fast. All right, very cool. Okay, what was the fifth thing I asked you to do? What's that? Hands in the air? No. What's that? Alphabet, very good. Ooh! Anyone else had guessed that one? Let's you and I connect later. Hey, buddy. Oh, I didn't specify. I left it open. All right, cool. Thank you. You may say it. The point of this activity was, number one, break the monotony of the presentation. Get you moving a little bit, waking up, stretching, whatever. But also, is to get your body physically involved, doing things. You were here and you were talking, even if you were being silly. Okay? And it's just an example of active learning. And the more senses that are involved in an activity, the more the learning is more engaging and the learning is more lasting. And this is based on neuroscience because it affects how your short-term memory stores and then long-term memory. And those connections are made a lot easier. Okay? So just some examples. Do you have any questions or comments before I go on? Okay. So here's some examples of cross-campus collaboration. So last June, after the new policy for Washington came out, we formed a core group. We call it the UDAL core group because we are so original, right? So our mission is to bring those methodologies to our campus and provide support services and integrate practices. And current members is me, our manager for disability services, web communications specialist, and we have someone else from IT from Enterprise Apps. She's a web developer. And another thing that we have done, we've been working with Seattle, and we've been recruiting IT accessibility liaisons. So all of the members of this group are liaisons, and as well as we got two more, we have someone from the library and someone else from web communications. And basically what they will do is they commit to be the contact in their department for accessibility. And Seattle provides a lot of training and support. We have institutes in Seattle and that help them to be more effective. And there's all kinds of training. So we help them, even if they don't know anything, they can learn. So we're trying to spread it out so we have little seats all over the place. Okay? So some of the other things that we've done, we use Kentico as our CMS in Bothell, and one of our core members created a web accessibility page because she's also in charge of the training for Kentico, so she added that on. We created our own accessibility checklist for content. We have held 2 ARIA workshops. How many of you know what ARIA is? One person. Hi. Cool. So ARIA is coding in the HTML backend of a web page where you specifically tag elements for a screen reader to recognize, like buttons, for example, menus. And if you're not using a screen reader, you don't see it. But it identifies things correctly so all of the elements can be recognized. Also, we have an upcoming PDF remediation pilot. IT department at Seattle provided, $30,000 for this project, and so it's a twofold: $10,000 to buy licenses for Adobe, the latest version of Adobe Acrobat, to do remediation of inaccessible PDFs. And the other part of that is that we're piloting 2 vendors. Bothell campus is piloting one vendor, Tacoma campus is piloting the other vendor, and we each get $10,000 to do that. So we're right now strategically going through what's on our website, what's public, and we're going to work with Tacoma and figure out the best process to select PDFs that need remediation, and then contact the people that own those documents to do it for them. So we're just working through that process right now. Another thing is, how many of you have heard of the Global Accessibility Awareness Day? That is May 18th. So we have that week of May 18th, we have events Monday through Friday. and in which we're going to have training for accessible documents. We're going to have speeches. How much time do I have? It's going until 11:30, right? I have 9 minutes. 11. Oh, okay, 9 minutes. Okay. Thank you. And we're going to have different activities throughout and prizes, so people can come and participate. Also, we're working on an inventory database of tools and technologies that we have on campus, and they're all going to be centralized in Seattle. And that will include, the VPATs, for example, the accessibility statements from companies. It will be part of that as well. And we got approved for an top accessibility domain in our campus too. Okay? So there have been a lot of training that we have done, workshops that represent a lot of this for our faculty to create awareness. And this is just one example. Universal content fitness, how fit is your content? Trying to make it fun, make it interesting, and say, hey, you can start doing this little by little. Start with your syllabus, start with the little stuff. You don't have to do it all at once. Okay, and some of the events that we had, e-learning symposium, and we had some elements in there. New faculty orientation, we have a presentation on universal design for learning and co-present with disability resources. We also have active learning conversations forums with practitioners that share their experiences in the classroom. Also, we have done other events when we had Dr. Cheryl Brosteller, the director of Do It, come in and speak a couple times to our campus. And so we're still recruiting liaisons. We are forming a diversity center. It's in process. The PDF remediation and training, we're going to have video captioning training and math type training for STEM, for accessible math. And here's some resources that link to some of the stuff that we have and some other things for accessibility, for more information. And this is my presentation. Any questions?
So, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in getting faculty buy-in to attend your workshops or implement? Like, how much problem did you face there? What did you do to solve it?
Okay, so this is a problem that happens in all campuses, I have found. You schedule wonderful workshops, nobody comes, or you get one person, right? Or you have 5 people sign up, maybe one who didn't sign up. What happened there? Anyway, so very familiar with that. We are still experiencing that as well. One of the ways we are approaching that is diversifying how we provide faculty development. One example is our first 20 minutes, 5-day Canvas course, fully online, in which instructors get to do a little bit of an activity in Canvas. We're working on the next one that's going to call the Canvas Carnival. And so that's some of the things we're doing. We're also getting more active with the blogs and inviting faculty to participate. So it's an ongoing process, learning process, and then get requests from them to do training. So we're working on it. Any other questions?
You mentioned the automated captioning tools out of Panopto, and before that, people were uploading into YouTube to use those captions. Are you finding that that is producing acceptable captions? Are too many people just using that as a crutch to say, oh, it's captioned, so it's fine, even though maybe the captions themselves are not good enough?
So it's still fairly new because the latest update was last December. So we're still communicating that to faculty. And the ones that know about are using it, that got excited about captioning. And so far, we haven't had that I know of, there might be some out there, that have left the captioning as assist without fixing them. The thing about that is that it does not add the captions automatically, like in YouTube. You have to go into the editing mode and add those automatic captions. So if they're not correct, they won't show up by default. Any other questions?
I just wanted to know, in your redesigned classrooms, if you had also in there a main projection screen. And the reason I asked that is because we recently had a room that was redone, and they had small active learning tables, like the ones that you have with their own screen on it. But the instructors were having a hard time converting from that setup, and they still wanted a main screen that the students could look to.
And that's what we're using. We tend to gravitate to those things we've done previously. So if I were to go back to that image right here. So remember when I mentioned the technology, we ran out of money? So we kept the same projection system, ceiling mounted, which still makes the front of the room is the front of the room no matter what, right? When there's projection, right? And as well as a screen is still at the front. For future classrooms, we are going to be working more on that depending on funds available. But that's the reason why it remained there.
If you show the slide,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So this is a very traditional lecture style classroom. That, yeah. Is there, for the upgraded, was there a technology plan that got axed for, yeah, okay. Or we'll call that phase 3.
Exactly, but we're still continuing conversations with our faculty group that have been doing a lot of the work on this. And there is one classroom that got approved for some technology, and they just got iPod touches to record student interaction for research. So that part got, because it wasn't too expensive, we were able to do that. And then that has into a lot of conversations about what is the optimum group size for such discussions, and how many students, how many groups to make it feasible for a classroom. Any other questions? I think got 2 minutes. Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming, and feel free to contact me if you have questions or if you want more information. Okay, thank you.